YellowTelescope's YellowTelecast, the best practices for the best practices, providing the medical industry's best practices to the medical industry's best practices since 2008. Are you a doctor? Do you work for a doctor? Do you want to earn more, be more efficient, retain your team, hire for success, or just want to have a better lifestyle? I bet you do. What should you expect from the podcast? A lighthearted, casual, fun, hopefully funny, informative, impactful, well-founded look at the medical industry from a pair of passionate, competent, confident, experienced, talented, questionably good-looking, unquestionably good-looking industry leaders, men of the Renaissance, if you will, and even if you won't, who enjoy Scotch whiskey, world travel, music, single malt Scotch whiskey, fine dining, not fine dining, family, art, and Ryan bourbon whiskeys while implementing intensive training and expert staffing, resulting in unparalleled growth. Listen to the podcast, and for more on how YellowTelescope can help you grow, visit YellowTelescope.com for upcoming events, published articles, recorded speeches, past issues of our complimentary email newsletter, testimonials, and more. Welcome to the YellowTelescope YellowTelecast, Best Practices for the Best Practices podcast, coming to you live and recorded from the fabulous Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino.
We did it. By the way, you have been waiting to use the word casino in a podcast probably since the last time we were in Vegas.
I only get to use it in Vegas and suburban western Fort Lauderdale. It's the only places I get to do it.
And we did it. So
yeah.
This place is pretty fabulous for western Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. It's a great hotel.
That's right.
It's got a lot of hard rock, and that much we like. We've been jamming. That's
We're
something
surrounded
we
by it. I mean, look, we've got
Jimmy Page.
Thank you, and we've got David Bowie. Right
really
behind
fantastic.
us.
A couple of reasonably famous guys.
That's right.
I sat behind the David Bowie because people always come up to me and are like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but are you David Bowie? I'm like, no, my name's John. And they're like, okay. But, because a lot of times I'm wearing a little extra mascara. I've got the blonde hair.
Sometimes a big star over the side of the face. Yeah, no, I know. I've seen it. It's good. It's a good look.
Call me Ziggy.
I saw the tribute show to the late, great David Bowie.
Did you?
Starring Sue George. He's the Brazilian singer-guitarist from Brazil. Starred in the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Did a special show.
It's one of my favorite movies I've ever hated.
Exactly.
It's one of my most hated movies I've ever loved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just one of my favorites, actually.
The Life Aquatic is amazing. So you're telling me
there.
that this guy actually performed the Life Aquatic live?
Well, he did the soundtrack for the film.
Got it.
Was specifically selected by Wes Anderson.
I remember a lot of Bowie tracks.
Uh-huh. In fact, the entire soundtrack was David Bowie sung in acoustic Portuguese.
It's wildly specific, which is why Ed loves it.
Exactly. I like it. And it was in the fabulous Faena Theater in Miami Beach. Amazing venue. If you ever get a chance to go, check it out. It's fantastic.
Sort of overstated elegance.
Exactly. A lot of red velvet and gold leaf.
If you love ostentatiousness.
There it is.
Ostentation?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Anyway, we're here for the annual Whisky Extravaganza.
Yeah, it's our first time at this event. It's actually called the Whisky Extravaganza. It's here at the Hard Rock. I've been trying to go for about 3 or 4 years, and for one reason or another, never make it. So
it's funny. I've also been trying to go for 3 or 4 years, never made it.
We're going to be tasting a very number of whiskeys this evening, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yep.
We're going to a special tasting first, and then the extravaganza itself for some great food, beverage, and interesting company. So it's exciting. We figured why not start that off by having a whiskey first, just to kind of whet the proverbial whistle.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, by the way, we have a good plan today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the state of conversion in medical practices. And when we talk about conversion, we're not talking about my Christian brethren becoming nice Jewish boys like me, nor are we talking about me becoming a wasp like my good friend here.
Although it could be fun given the fact that Christmas and Hanukkah are at the same time this year. We'll just totally swap.
I love it. So we're not talking about that sort of conversion, not cult conversion. We're talking about how do we make decisions related to marketing purchases based on what's going to convert and is there going to be a profit level there. Mm-hmm. We're also going to be talking about the opportunity cost of waiting and not taking advantage of different marketing opportunities, and talk a little bit about how do we budget for and make good decisions related to spending and running the business so we can get great conversion and great profitability.
That's right.
But first, a couple of hot updates, a little bit about Scotch, right?
Yeah, I think we should probably talk a little bit about whiskey.
Oh, absolutely.
In general.
Well, what we have here is a great whiskey. This is the Midwinter Night's Dram.
Which we thought was appropriate given the weather here.
Yeah.
It's, first of all, South Florida. You know how it is in the wintertime.
We're typically talking about how hot it is.
Freezing outside. It got below 80, first of all. Humidity dropped below 90.
Yeah.
It's chilly.
We're wearing jackets.
That's right. Crank the AC down.
It's supposed to get all the way down to low 70s. Could be 68, right. 69. Who knows?
I don't know though. It's a little cloudy out there. Sort of.
Well, it's been cloudy and muggy for sure today. It's funny you mention it. When we talk about cloudy, I couldn't even read the screen on my phone.
Yeah,
fogged over, and I called AT&T, and they said, "Well, all of your calls are missed." That's what they told me.
Because they were misty?
Yep.
I can't. It's too good. Well, I was wondering whether or not I was actually going to need a Snoop Dogg umbrella.
A Snoop Dogg umbrella?
For drizzle. I can't help it. I could have helped it, but I can't.
Well,
I shan't.
If you're wondering when it's going to rain next, it's going to monsoon.
So in Midwinter's Night's Dram.
Midwinter Night's Dram.
Yep. This comes from the High West folks.
It does. Possibly one of, if not our favorite American distiller. All these days, you got Corsair. You got a lot of good people doing a lot of great stuff.
Oh yeah.
But this place is great. So based in Utah, they're actually mostly aging their whiskeys. We talk about them on a few different podcasts in there. Although they're importing a lot of their. I wouldn't say they're importing. They're emigrating. No, they're intrastating their whiskey over largely from Indiana, where most rye is made. And this is actually aged in French oak and port barrels. And it gives it some sweetness, a lot of cinnamon spice, and it really tastes like Christmas. It's got that sort of Christmas spice flavor to it while being a delicious rye. And I drank a bottle of this last year and maybe the year before around the holidays, sharing it with good friends and loved ones, and put me in the Christmas spirit. And it is delicious. This is one of our favorite bottles. It's a great gift for the holidays as well, because it kind of combines that holiday spirit again with fantastic whiskey. So, shall we try it?
I'd like to.
I already know I like it.
Me too. Cheers.
It's fantastic.
Really nice. It's Christmas.
Yeah. It's got some sweetness from the cask, the barrel aging, from the port cask and so on. But because it's the rye, it's not too sweet, and it's got that a little bit of that spicy bite.
That's one of my favorites.
It gets you right there, like a tangy barbecue.
It's right in the corners.
Yeah. So it's been a great few months. As mentioned, as Ed mentioned just a few minutes ago, we have been busy. We haven't actually recorded a podcast in 2 or 3 months. Pretty typical of us. Around October, we got busy. We did have our 6th annual Yellow Telescope training seminar in Miami at the fabulous Fontainebleau Hotel and Not Casino.
Not Casino this time.
And it was fantastic. We got our highest ratings, I believe, maybe since year 1 when we had 8 people there. This time we had better part of 100 folks in that room. And we got a 9.52 out of 10 based on anonymous reviews. We're up to almost 300 positive testimonials on the website on YellowTelescope.com. We had a great meal at Strip Steak. Had some great people over to our place after the event. Had some cocktails and delicious tasties, lobster Pop-Tarts and things like that on the balcony. It was exquisite and exuberant and robust.
It was indeed robust.
Any favorite memory from this year for you?
I like the photo booth. Was a particular fun part of the event. Some new addition every year. We try to spice it up a little bit. We had everybody was decked out in yellow boas and fedoras, and with the gather, give, get sign, and it seemed to be kind of a real highlight of that Friday night. Truly memorable experience. Other than that, it was some new faces, but we also really brushed up the advanced course this year, and I had some
returning guests.
I had some great feedback that it was really the best part of the event. It just, it's even more intimate, much more conversationally based, and
a lot of discussion.
A lot of discussion.
People love to discuss.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
Discuss.
Yeah,
discuss.
Just sort of talk amongst yourselves. So that was great. A couple little highlights for me. I know that after our dinner, we got taken back for a tour in the vaults of the Fontainebleau.
That was
we got to see some of these $20 million, billion dollar, that's probably an exaggeration, but $10,000 bottles of wine and $50,000 Romani Contis and beautiful bottles of wine we didn't purchase. But we did run into some pre-prohibition bottles of whiskey, meaning over 100 years old. And we ran into some cigars that were from Cuba, and they were pre-embargo. And I know my wife and I are going to Cuba in January, which we're excited about, and to run into a 65-year-old cigar that was for purchase, was pretty cool. So we got everybody a round of cigars on the executive team. So that was kind of a cool highlight, and really seeing all the people coming back over and over again was super, super exciting. I'm particularly excited to announce that we have actually outsold the 2017 event, which isn't until I think October 21st, 22nd of 2017.
20th, 21st.
20th, 21st. Yes. We've already outsold the entire attendance of this year, and we're 11 months out. So that was it made me feel good. It's good for business, but it just feels good to know that 70-80% of our attendees are signing up every year to come back again. So that was awesome. So that great event. Thank you to all the attendees. What an awesome time. I'm still kind of flying high. The Cubs won the World Series.
How about that?
Woo!
That doesn't happen every 100 years.
We were up for 2 Cy Young Awards for Best Pitcher, and neither of them were Jake Arrieta, which is why we're so amazing, because he won the Cy Young. We had Kyle Schwarber back, limping around, running slower than my great-grandmother. He was hitting home runs. I went to Game 5, which was one of the bucket list moments of my life. So that happened. That was amazing. That was a place to do a podcast. Couldn't really hear too well in the stadium, but that was pretty amazing. The brand new SEOversight.com is live. Our sister company, SE Oversight, that's SEOversite.com is live. You can also spell it wrong. It'll still take you there. Explain all the URLs. Because we're smart. We're not that smart.
It's a robust site. I like it a lot.
There's a lot of jumping fish. There's a lot of jumping squirrels. There's birds flying.
There's some birds flying.
There's a lot of animation.
It's got a significant element of whimsy and timelessness.
Correct. 500 man hours, actually woman hours, because our fantastic web developer, Jaffia.
Yes.
Jaffia put together our website, did over 500 woman hours along with her team to put together one of the most complex websites I've ever seen and been a part of. We're really excited about it. We'd love your feedback. Even if you just want to have a little fun and just check out a cool website, go to seoversight.com. We have case studies, video and written testimonials, cool floating and flying things, lots of trees. It's refreshing.
It is. It's a breath of fresh air digitally.
Ice Cream social media. Off to a great start.
You as well?
I do as well.
Nice. We all scream for social media.
Our social feeds are going nuts. We're adding clients on the regular. Doing a lot better with Ice Cream social media 6 months after opening, about 18 months after starting the process of getting open. That is growing as well. So I think a lot of fun and good happenings. I don't know if there's anything else that I missed.
A lot of YellowTelescope clients. Lest we forget the YellowTelescope clients.
Yeah, at the risk of shamelessly self-promoting, after winning the Sun Sentinel magazine's top workplace professional award, our third major award in the last 2 years.
No problem.
Well, it's us.
All right.
We won it.
Yep.
And you earned it, and I thank you. It is very exciting that we also, I think we booked a lot of new YellowTelescope clients.
A lot of new YellowTelescope clients at the same time. It was probably, I would say, our busiest... probably even just 6 weeks between the two of us in company history as far as adding new clients and
thank you, clients. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for the trust you place in us. And it's very exciting, and John and I are really, really looking forward to our best potential year yet in 2017.
Yeah, 3 years ago we would have, at this rate, this would have been the equivalent to 2 years' worth of signings done in 6 weeks. So luckily with greater infrastructure and more help from my partner and esteemed colleague, we can service those clients. But yeah, I am currently booked, I think, till August of next year, and you're booked out dang near that close.
Just about the summer, yeah.
So good stuff. Well, those are just a few hot happenings. We're talking about the Scotch. Let's talk at this point a little bit about conversion.
Conversion.
Excellent.
Part of the reason we thought about bringing up this topic was we always try to think about what's salient, what is on the top of some of the minds of the practices that we're speaking with, whether they are actual clients, they're prospective clients, people that we meet at a meeting, people that just reach out to us with a question or a concern. And we thought after our last podcast was about the summertime spend freeze blues, and how a lot of people just sort of put the brakes on any additional expenditures.
You don't want to spend anything in August. You might as well just give up.
Oh yeah,
just shut it down.
Close the doors. It's just like shutting your phones off at lunchtime.
Yeah,
you know?
just
sometimes
you go to lunch. You don't want to take any business.
That's right.
It's not like anyone would call you.
That's what they do in France, John. They just close the office for August. It's fine.
Yes, I probably would too in August in France.
So we thought that it would be nice to focus a little bit more and expand upon the idea of conversion when it comes to when is it appropriate to to really invest in converting more leads, converting more of the patients that are coming in, and how you can actually monetize some of those additional expenditures.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about the marketing side. And we get questions at least weekly, sometimes seems like daily, related to or of the sort of or not dissimilar from, or if I may paraphrase,
you may.
To the effect of, is that enough?
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's quite enough, John. That's more than enough. To the effect of, John, I have this opportunity that came up. I got an email, someone called me, a salesperson talked to my office manager, and it's this much money for this sort of service, and should I do it? Do I pull the trigger? How do I make this decision?
Yes or no?
And
no context. I don't want you to have any information. Just should I do it? That's it.
Correct.
One-word answer.
And sometimes a little context, oftentimes not. And what we've really realized over the years is that more important than the initial answer of yes or no, should you do this or that, is the thought process of how to make these decisions on your own in the future. So it's teaching a man to fish versus just giving him a fish and finding out he is not pescatarian.
I liked it.
So let's talk a little bit about an example that came in literally today. We had one of our clients that had an opportunity in their market to place an Instagram advertisement on another person's Instagram feed. So there's a company, they have an Instagram following. Let's say they have 25,000 followers in the local market. Let's pretend it was Miami. And they say, we've got 25,000 people in the market. They're all wealthy. They're all educated. They're all interested in the product or service that you're selling. And we will put one of your ads on Instagram, and you'll pay us X amount of dollars. And we're pretty sure you're going to make the money back, because if they see this, you're going to get calls from people you don't normally reach.
Are you sure? We're pretty sure.
They're pretty sure, because there is no guarantees with these things.
That's right.
And so the question is, do I spend, and the price was $150 per individual post. One time, $150, there it is, it gets posted. My answer actually, even though we're careful with these things, was, yeah, go ahead and do it.
I'm blown away.
Yeah.
Look at you, just willy-nilly spending
I will
other
spend
people's
$150 of someone's money like that.
No problem.
And so that's fine. I could give that answer and walk away. But what I did is I took the time to outline what the thought process was.
Sure.
And I relate it back to conversion. Now, this particular practice happens to have a good number of dermatologists, a good number of plastic surgeons. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of fillers, and the most likely thing that they would be promoting to these 25,000 followers in their market on this Instagram feed would be something that was relatively inexpensive, so not a full body lift or a $20,000 surgery, but they were thinking maybe they would do buy a Juvederm and get an area Botox at half off or something like that, some special or some promotion. And the way we looked at it is this. Let's look at the deal. So we said if a vial of Juvederm is going to cost the patient $700 for simple math, and if that's going to cost us $300 in product, that leaves us a profit margin of $450. We then subtracted approximately $50 to $100 for intangibles, paying a team member commission, loss of product over time, rent, malpractice insurance, all the things that go in that probably eat away a little bit at that profit. We said reasonably we can expect to make no less than $300 in profit on this one deal. And then we had to factor in the fact that we were going to give away a certain number of Botox units for free, and we figured out that with this deal that would be eating another probably $100 maximum of profitability. So whether you followed all that math or not, we basically took a $700 sale and equated it to only around $200 in profit. Give or take, could be $250 or $300, could be $150, but we figured about $200 was reasonable. So based on that, we now have what a conversion is worth, and a conversion in that particular case was worth about $200. So we now can make an educated decision on 25,000 people seeing that ad. Now, not all 25,000 will see that,
right,
and not all of them are qualified or the right kind of target customer, but we reasonably assumed if 50%, give or take, were qualified, that's probably 12 or 13,000 good impressions.
Yep.
If even 7,000 of those people look at their Instagram over that next week and see it, can we get 1 in 7,000 people to call and say, I saw your special, I'd like to purchase?
Better than the lotto.
We figured there's no guarantee. We don't know for sure, but the risk reward was very reasonable. The worst case, we lost $150.
Yep.
Most likely, we're going to get at least 1 or 2 or 3 patients. And we're not just going to get their profit, but they also will be new patients we otherwise wouldn't have reached, or most likely wouldn't have reached, and they hopefully will come back for more, or maybe purchase surgery, or maybe make us their dermatologist of choice or plastic surgeon of choice. So it seemed, when we started talking it through, that, hey, this is a pretty easy yes. What was also exciting about it is there's no long-term contract. If it worked well, we would try it again. If it doesn't work well, you only lost $150. So almost no downside risk, significant upside potential. So what I wanted to work with the practice on wasn't should you or shouldn't you, but how do we go about thinking through these numbers and coming to a process that we could replicate. Now let's take one more example. I had another doctor, this was about 3 months ago, and he was interested in advertising in one of the major beauty magazines. There's a handful of them.
Yeah.
And there were some little fringe benefits, and you got on their website, and you got some other perks, and they threw a party for you or something like that. And it worked out to around $3,000 a month, or about $36,000 for the year, and you had to, I think, purchase the full year. That was your minimum commitment. The doctor was successful, so he could afford the money, technically. It wouldn't go out of business. But it was a significant expense, and so we looked at it. We did the same process. Different numbers, same process. We said, well, at $36,000, if our average surgery we're going to get from a patient in the magazine is going to be about, in that office was about $7,000 was the average patient. And we said, well, to break even, we would need to sell on $7,000, we were probably going to make around $3,000 in profit, give or take, per surgery. That could vary a little bit, but we thought that was a reasonable margin, 35-40%. And so if he's making around $3,000 in profit per surgery, to pay off $36,000 a year, he had to generate 1 new patient per month. $3,000 a month pays off $3,000 a month.
Right.
So it's not just the revenue, it's the profit, it's the amount per conversion. And so we said, is it realistic for us to get 1 new patient a month from this magazine based on their impressions and reach? What I had done is called and contacted a couple of other people who had used it in the past, and neither of them had made their money back, so those were 2 checks against that particular magazine, although I've seen with other magazines them be very successful. I then said, well, we shouldn't eliminate just based on that because it's a different market. And we started to look at the impressions. We started to look at the small city he was based in and what the circulation was for that general vicinity from which he could reasonably pull. For example, if a doctor is 3 hours outside of New York City, it doesn't really matter how many go to New York City.
Right.
If someone's 3 hours outside of Los Angeles, it doesn't really matter how many of the magazines go to Los Angeles. And when we really looked at it, the reach was not significant. And even with being listed on the website, it's very unlikely someone from that city was going to magically find them and call. And when we looked at it, we really felt that it was risky. Not impossible, not a definite no, but something that was very high risk. And we said, can we spend that money somewhere else and have a higher likelihood of return? And the ultimate decision was no. So the 2 anecdotes I've given you really aren't important related to whether the answer was yes or no, or what the name of the magazine was, or which Instagram feed we went to, but rather that we went through the same process and worked backwards first to what a profitable conversion equates to. And it can vary based on the deal and the special, or if there is no special, or surgical or non-surgical, etc. And then we made intelligent decisions. So we feel like if doctors do this more often, they're going to do better. So let me stop there. Now that we've talked a little bit about just kind of the way we approach marketing and how we make decisions on conversion, I know you want to talk a little bit about opportunity cost and the time value of money and so on and so forth.
Well, exactly.
Over to you, Ed.
Thanks, John. I've been over here sipping the whole time.
Absolutely. You've got almost like a ski slope of a glass.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the
for those of you in
table
YouTube
or...
and
YouTube
land, not just in podcast land.
Huh.
It looks like the whiskey is sliding down Ed's ski slope of life directly into his mouth.
Give me a tiny little extra, just a wee minter's.
You know, we call that
stram.
A nip.
Just a nip. That's right.
A thimble.
Keeps you warm. Thank goodness. So once we realized that we could figure out how to, that's more than enough. Thank you.
Well, again, up here, there's no, on the top of the ski slope, if you can see there in YouTube land, no whiskey. Over here, too much whiskey.
Exactly. So it's really just enough. Once you've actually found out that the marketing effort has the potential to actually be profitable and you'll actually get any sort of significant return on investment, whether that's 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, goodness forbid, 10 times.
411.5 times.
I'm ready to invest in that right now. No problem. It's called blackjack.
Downstairs, we're going. Who's coming with me?
That's right. Once you've actually realized that you actually can make a little bit of a profit.
And remind me, by the way, I need to borrow some money later.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a good quarter. So we actually realized that you can actually measure the opportunity cost. So then, of course, the question becomes when? When is this going to be a good time to do this? And, of course, we always want people to plan a little bit further in advance simply because usually the time when they think about spending on these sorts of things is when it's actually very slow. They're like, oh my God, we've got to do something. We've got to get a shot in the arm for this practice. We've got to make sure that we get some more patients calling in. The phones are slower.
They're afraid to spend, but they feel like they have to spend.
Exactly, exactly. But then, of course, the question becomes, oh my gosh, should I even do this? Should I even do it now? We also have, some of the practices we work with are either managed by or owned by doctors or managers that are a little bit more conserving holding, as we like to say, who just need a little bit more information to make sure they can actually make a reasonable, reasoned decision.
These are the measure thrice cut nunces.
That's correct.
From podcast 6?
I don't know. Potentially, it's
in there.
It's a throwback. I like it.
It's like ragu pasta sauce. It's
from the vault.
It's in there, guys.
That's right.
It's in there. Just go back. Please stop here and review all Yellow Telescope podcasts since the dawn of time,
or since 2015. We then need to determine when we should actually start to invest. Now, sometimes it doesn't necessarily really matter because if your cost for that individual investment, like, for example, the Instagram ad, is particularly reasonable and low, $150, again, hand a blackjack. With that said, you also would...
Maybe for you.
I don't know. I can't keep up with you, let's be honest.
Well, I like to get on a run.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Start small. I build.
He only plays when he wins. So, we realize that you are... You really lost me with the blackjack there.
We're talking about conversion.
Yeah.
And opportunity cost of
it's
time.
much easier to invest in the marketing efforts when they're a lot lower. Go ahead and let's try it now. Other times, if it is a little bit more expensive, maybe it is the magazine ad that you were referring to earlier, maybe you want to make a little bit more of a measured decision, wait a little bit to do that. However, there is such a thing as too long, because if you think about, let's say you need to make that one additional surgery, for example, to make up that $3,000 expenditure. And let's say that you need maybe an extra, say, 10 leads in order to get that one surgery, for example. It depends on your consultation and conversion ratios, et cetera, which I'll get to. But if you think about getting those 10 extra leads this month, then you're probably going to be much more likely to make that $3,000 this month. But if you wait, say, 6 months to make that investment, if you're losing at a minimum at least that $3,000 return just to break even, but then if you've calculated that it's going to be a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times multiple, well, then you're losing that $3,000 times 5, $20,000 times 6. It could be a $100,000 loss just by waiting 6 months in order to even start that marketing campaign.
It's literally, I think the old adage is, you don't even know what you're missing.
That's right.
Which is why I think that initial conversion percentage and that dollar value is so important. So if you know that reasonably you expect to make, like you said, let's say 3x. Let's say that your break even is 1 surgery, and you expect pretty realistically to get at least 3 surgeries, which would be, let's say, a net profit of $6,000.
Sure.
I guess the way you're looking at it is over 6 months. If you wait just 6 months to do the surgery, you've lost 6 times 6,000.
Exactly.
Which is 11,000.
Times 6.
36,000, right?
You got it, yeah.
Got it.
So, and then of course you have to think about, for example, if you're going to invest in something that's going to increase your conversion ratio, because, we always use the adage, why add more gas to the tank if there are leaks in the tank? Let's go ahead and plug the leaks first, and then make sure we can add some more gas. So, if, for example, if you're actually only converting, say, 1 to 2 of the leads that are coming into your office into surgery, which is about the national average, I would say, of the consultations that are coming in, say, for a surgery, then you actually need to invest, whether it's, with some sort of training, whether it's with YellowTelescope, or frankly, it doesn't even need to be us, whether it's just more regular management meetings, a little bit more internal training with your staff, just to make sure they're actually using some specific processes to convert more patients. Invest that money now, because if you wait 6 months to do that, for every, say, additional conversion that's walking out the door without actually purchasing something, there's the additional $3,000 that's walking out the door.
Well, it's cool to hear you relate it back kind of away from marketing into people, because so many practices don't really think of their people as marketing, but in a lot of ways they are. And something that I mentioned before was I talked to 2 other clients of that magazine who didn't make a return. And then immediately after that I mentioned that didn't make me eliminate the decision. And you'd say, well, why? If people are failing, why would you not just eliminate the decision? And the answer is, although it put 2 checks in the bad column, what I've learned over the years is if you're talking with the practice that has the low conversion rate you're talking about. So for example, in most of our practices, what we're working towards and we usually can achieve is from lead to sale of surgery, 23%. Some get 25, 26, 27, close to 30, some get a little less. That means if you're getting 100 leads from your website or from referrals or any other marketing source, we're going to get 23 surgeries. So that's not a 23% consult booking ratio. Our consult booking ratios are 60 to 90%,
right? Typically,
if not always. But from lead, 100 leads, the one from Bangladesh with an email only all the way through the patient referral, 23% is a phenomenal ratio. So if you're getting 100 leads and you're only converting 10 people to surgery, instead of 23 people to surgery, you're losing 13 people every 100 leads.
Yep.
With at $5,000 a head would be $65,000 every 100 leads you get. And in some offices we work with, they're getting 500 or 600 leads a month.
Yep.
In other offices we work with, they're getting 500 or 600 leads a year. But either way, that's really serious money. So I think it's fantastic the way you're looking at it, that it's not just converting on that marketing effort, but getting the people on point first. So we'll have people who are not investing in a magazine, and next door, our client is. And they're profiting, and that person tried it and failed simply because they're not able to maximize what they're getting out of the marketing.
That's right. And that's why I think that we're sort of the marketer's friend in a lot of ways, even though we do kind of specialize through SEO oversight on increasing leads. But through YellowTelescope, we help other marketers kind of look better because we're absolutely going to increase the return on the investment just by helping the people actually produce a little bit more.
Yeah, how many people have told us pay-per-click doesn't work? I'm like, you mean except for all of our clients that make $1 gajillion on it? Now, it doesn't work for everybody in all markets. I agree with that. But
right.
I can show you multi-millionaires that make their money on pay-per-click. A lot of it is partially market dependent, partially timing, but also partially your efficiency with it. Because if you're spending and you're not getting any conversion once you receive the lead, we talked with another client today who shall remain nameless, one of our newest clients. They were upset because they started a pay-per-click campaign with us last week. Guess how many leads they got? 0. We're failing.
Oh.
Other than when we looked at the report, they had 22 live chats, 3 phone calls, and 2 leads today. Guess what? Patient coordinator who's outgoing, so to speak,
not
is either can't find the leads or is not being honest about the leads. There's something going on. We don't know what, and I don't want to be accusatory until we figure it out. So it turns out the campaign's doing great. So that's not the abnormal situation. That's not the outlier. That's fairly typical in a lot of practices where you have to look at your people first, make sure the conversion rates are great, and then build that back up into marketing. Because a lot of times things that are borderline are still worth investing in if you've got great conversion.
Yep. And I also think that, again, when it relates back to timing, trying to really bring it full circle back to, the time.
I'm going to do a total 360 the other way.
Always about the time.
It's a 180.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a total 360 the other way.
So it's interesting to see how people actually do prioritize some of these things because, they say, well, look, we've got really a lot of things really going on right now, so we can't really think about actually converting more people because we're converting over to our EMR right now. Our hands are really tied. There's nothing
we just invested in 3 new marketing campaigns, so we're going to return to our people and our conversion later.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of, they're focusing on just the things we've already got coming in, when in reality they should be focusing even more on the things they've got coming in order to convert those and increase the return.
Right. It's almost like they move on too quickly. They're like, we have people in place, so let's move on. When it's really, let's get people in place, let's train them, let's make them habit-forming trained, then let's make them full culture trained, then let's go on to marketing.
Yeah.
And then when we look at marketing, you'll notice that number that we picked out and kind of created in those 2 examples gets to be much easier to hit. Because all of a sudden in the example we gave, we said, 1 client a month will do it. But if you're super efficient, you might say, look, we can get 1 client every 2 months and hit some of these marketing initiatives because we don't need as many leads to hit it, or our average order is growing, or we're having a price increase, or whatever it is we're doing.
And then when you start thinking about in terms of months, then you actually can start planning multiple things at a time. It shouldn't just be, let's get this done first. then we can think about this. Because the reality is it's going to take a certain amount of time from whatever project you're trying to implement now. So at least start on the next one because, let's say you've got training coming up for your people. Well, get that plan now, so at least you've got that to look forward to.
You lose those 3 months of not having that profit.
You're going to have it anyway.
3 months on the next thing, and then you lose 3 months on the next thing. And look, we're all guilty of it. We need to redo SEOversight.com and YellowTelescope.com.
That's right.
We did SEOversight.com, didn't start YellowTelescope.com. Why? We said the same thing to ourselves. Well, we've got a lot going on, and it's more money, and should we wait a little bit? And one thing leads to another, and even we look back and say, looking back, other than the sheer time that it takes, there's really no harm in getting the process started. So that's something that our initiative is this year. We'll have our ice cream social media site updated. We'll have our YellowTelescope.com website completely redone, all inside this year, done essentially together, even though the gut says let's do one, then the next, because we know we've got an efficient sales engine.
That's right.
So I think summarily, you got to start by looking at what it costs to get a break even on investment, and if it seems extremely high and the people around you are succeeding with it, chances are fairly good you have internal issues related to conversion. So we do want to make sure that your internal process is working first, because if you're not converting what you already have on the table, there's no point investing more in marketing. And then once you know that your internal engine is reasonably efficient and successful, then we can turn to marketing. And instead of trying to make yes-no decisions, we can actually work backwards using simple math and saying, how much money do we get in revenue? How much profit is there remaining from that revenue? How many leads can we reasonably expect, even though there's never a guarantee? And is that a reasonable risk with a fairly good upside and a relatively limited downside? If it checks those boxes, the answer is yes. And as you just mentioned, not just on one thing, but maybe on 5 or 10 things all at once. Maybe only on one thing. But why wouldn't you invest? Why would you wait and lose 6 months of profitability on that? The opportunity cost of waiting can be huge if you've got an efficient engine and a reasonable amount of money to cover it. A last point I wanted to mention is I don't believe in budgets for small businesses.
Yes.
I don't believe in it.
I was wondering if we were going to get this in there.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have time, but we can do a 1-minute version on my end, maybe a 1-minute retort. No more than a 1-minute summary, and we'll piece out of this podcast.
Sounds good.
I got to tell you, I have people who refer to, this big giant pharmaceutical company did a study and said the average practice spends X% on marketing, so that's what I should spend. And maybe that percentage is 10% or 2% or 20%. And then they say, I read a book and it said you should spend 7% on marketing, or this percentage on your staff. Staff should comprise 8%. It's all false. It's all completely wrong. Because first of all, it depends on where you're at in your practice. If you're a brand new practice, you have zero revenue.
Might as well spend 90% of it on marketing.
Yeah, you're going to build a website. That could be 110% of your first month's revenue.
Right.
So where does that even come from? 2% of zero is still zero. And you could also be a super large group practice with 100 doctors in it. And you might not need to spend more than 2% of your entire budget on anything even remotely related to marketing because you're spreading the costs over 100 people. So that doesn't hold water. And second, averages aren't you. Markets are different. Costs are different. Needs are different. Interests are different. Conversion rates are different. And my attitude is if you have already, quote unquote, spent your marketing budget. I already spent it, John. I set aside $62,500.08 for marketing this year, and I spent it all. But then you get an opportunity to spend $150 on an Instagram ad that you genuinely think gives you a 90% chance of success. You'd be a dum-dum not to invest in it. So I don't quite understand where budgets are coming from. And although you have to have a budget generally, you need to kind of look at things from a broad perspective in terms of budgets. Ultimately, you're making individual decisions based on whether or not a particular investment is going to literally make sense or not. Not just sense, but money. And if so, invest in it. Now, you're not going to go buy $1 million machine if you're a $500,000 practice, but a reasonable investment, 10 or 20 grand over budget, 10 or 20 grand under budget, fine. Look for opportunities that are going to make you profitable. Don't try to fit within the confines of what other people tell you is a reasonable budget.
I think what relates to that, too, is making sure that your decisions are made with, and I think you used this term with one of our other clients this week who also shall remain nameless, making micro decisions. Essentially based on individual parts of the business without necessarily taking into account everything holistically. While we do need to take everything into account, don't necessarily say we can't spend this money on pay-per-click this month because our Facebook ads weren't as profitable as they were.
Because insurance revenues are down.
Exactly.
One has nothing to do with the other. Maybe the reason you need to invest is to make up for that shortfall.
Exactly. And so it's important to make sure that you're looking at these things on a very micro scale, individually, and of course we're not suggesting that you should just not do without every budget you've ever had.
Right.
No problem. Just go willy-nilly. No problem. Just max out all your credit cards and then get more.
I want to look up the actual origins of willy-nilly.
I think I've used it twice now. In this
I've
podcast.
been really, really getting into in spades.
Oh, yeah, you have.
How was your day? Excellent. In spades. So I went ahead and Googled it. So here it is. Playing cards, right?
Right.
Originally, when people came up with playing cards in like the 1600s or 1400s, there was a sword and a thing and a thing and a thing. The sword in UK and America-based cards became a spade, which is a form of shovel, which is why the sword shape moved into the shape of a spade, which loosely resembles a shovel for digging. And isn't really, it really has absolutely nothing to do with why anything is called in spades.
Good story, bro.
Yeah. So what in spades is actually related to is the game of bridge, and the highest ranking suit, clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. So if you've got the winning hand in spades, you win. And so it's come to be it's become a term used for in abundance in a major way. And so when I say Ed is awesome in spades, I'm talking about in the highest suit.
He actually meant in clubs.
Absolutely, and I'm not just talking about that high quality Dapper Dan jacket and boutonniere he's wearing. Not just that, but he's got the highest suit. He is awesome in spades.
It's actually just a sport coat, not a full suit.
True. It's a sport jacket. It's a suit pocket.
You're too kind, sir.
So let's wrap up with a couple of things. So what do we have coming up? What else do we have to discuss?
Nothing.
Besides checking out the brand new www.seoversight.com and giving us your feedback.
So excited about the fountains and the fish.
Yeah, well, it's the holidays are coming up. This will probably be posted in and around the holidays. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to everybody out
Here's
there.
to an exceptionally prosperous 2017 to everybody.
Yeah, health and happiness and
incidentally,
all those good things.
If you're seeing this before the end of the year, and we hope you are, and you haven't already had your annual planning meeting yet, please make sure you get that together.
Done.
For goodness sake. We had ours, full day-long meeting, literally at one John Hoffenberg's home. We started off with some delicious bagels and lox, really a cross-cultural dish. And
it's quite a caper.
It's
a traditional topic.
Moved right into our full-day meeting, literally from 10 to 5 p.m.
7 hours of planning for the next year to come, so we can keep getting that growth, Growph.
That's
growth.
right. Then got to really a full 6-page agenda, checked everything off the list. It's going to be an incredible year next year for us.
Can't wait, man. It's
and our
exciting.
team. We all picked our word, by the way, of the year. I'm not going to share mine on the air. Email me if you're interested.
Pick one word.
That's
Watch
right.
by it all year.
Defines your why. Other than that,
a lot of stuff coming up.
We had our awesome holiday party. That was great.
Yep, went to Barton G, the restaurant. Shout out to the good folks at Barton G. It was fantastic. Margaritas served in a piñata.
Yep.
I wore a helmet when my steak came out.
Because
it was obscene. So when in Miami Beach, you got to check out Barton G. Food, A-, B+. Ambiance and experience, A++.
Outstanding.
Just amazing. So that was awesome.
We were traveling to Detroit, Philadelphia,
Los Angeles,
Toledo, Los Angeles, Louisiana. I'll be back in NOLA again. We're going to be out
Boston,
San
Diego.
It's coming up.
It's coming. I'm going to be on the road for the next 3 months. It was nice seeing everybody.
That's right.
I'll hopefully see you when I'm in town. Come hit me up for a beverage or a bite to eat. We will be speaking this year on faculty at ASCRS, ASOA. Which will be in LA this year, or San Diego, one of those.
Yeah.
Orlando.
Los Angeles. Orlando
Somewhere.
is ASPS.
We'll be at Orlando for ASPS, Plastic Surgery The Meeting, as well as the Reboot Camp, our favorite event these days.
ASPS.
ASPS, which is Plastic Surgery The Meeting. AAFPRS, which is the Facial Plastics Meeting, will be speaking
I meant
at
ASAPS.
ASAPS, ASAPS will be
That's
there
right.
as well. Really excited about ASAPS, our first speaking appearance there.
Yep.
Looks like we'll have a booth there as well. Really excited to be participating and supporting ASAPS as well as ASPS as well as AFPS. We're equal opportunity. And of course we'll be at Vegas Cosmetic Surgery, I think for the 7th year in a row. Really appreciate the kindnesses they pay us by continuing to invite us back despite our silly antics. Much appreciated. Hashtag all those things. Thank you guys. We really appreciate a fantastic year. It's been every year is a record breaker, and this one was no exception. We're excited about trying to do it again in 2017.
Very exciting.
Got a new president. Hopefully all is well. We got a new year. We got a Whisky Extravaganza to attend. Have a happy holiday and enjoy the cozy hearth with a wee dram by the fire.
Cheers.
Play us out, Jillian.
Cheers.
Ooh, Jill got bobbled. Yeah. Woo!
Jill got bobbled.
Woo!
Hashtag
2 years at UIT, get bobbled. She's
get
got
bobbled.
it.
Get a bobblehead.
Jillian Chastity Bryathon.
The bobble edition.